Hello, guys. We are back. Post-fight podcast, episode 23, I think. Maybe, yeah, I think it's 23. Long time off. Rest in peace, Muhammad Khan. A friend of mine died. So it kind of put us out for a while after some other things happened that put us out for a while. But we're here. We're here to stay. And, yeah, first and foremost, congratulations to Trayvon's good friend, Cameron Smotherman, for his second pro victory. This one was just a clinic on... Yeah, you can talk about it.
I'm sorry to cut you off on mine because obviously I was there. I was watching. I was
It's
in
your boy,
attendance.
man. It's your boy.
My friend, my friend Cameron Smotherman had a second pro fight today. Today, as in what's the day? April 16th, whatever. I don't know. It doesn't matter. On the Sunday,
18th.
The third Sunday of April. He fought today. Looked damn good. He won by decision, lopsided decision. He had 30-27, 30-27, 30-26. We're gonna talk about it just a little bit. Okay, I know you guys don't care, but we're gonna tie it into the concept of today. Okay, so don't stress. Okay, we're gonna just sprinkle it in enough to where it matters. Okay, so I know you guys are like, who the hell is that?
Bruh,
don't stress. Okay,
no. Get on the bandwagon soon. Get on the bandwagon before everyone else.
I was about to say that too. You guys better start caring soon because it's gonna be important. It's gonna be very important for y'all. He had a good fight today, so today was a good day.
Very famous, so you need to get on that bandwagon early.
Exactly, you guys. We're telling you guys now, so that you guys can be like, that's old news. I've been heard about him.
Yeah.
Exactly. But no, yeah. So like, we didn't get to review Vittori and Holland. Who cares? Vittori won. He's a better fighter. Yada yada. Well, and unfortunately, this card doesn't have much to talk about other than Bobby Knuckles being awesome as hell. So we'll do a lot of talking about that today. Today will probably be a shorter episode. We're just gonna go over some basic points. And speaking about how awesome Bobby Knuckles is as a whole. So normally I'm the one who goes first, but Armand can go first. I want to hear what he has to say about the fight. And then I'll piggyback, and then we'll discuss the stuff about like Henry Adesanya again, Kelvin Gastelum, things like that.
So, one thing I thought, okay, so I'm going to just give you my whole Bobby Knuckles rundown and then tie it into how he has gone from Adesanya to where he was last night. So, Bobby Knuckles versus Israel Adesanya. Let's set the stage for that. So, Bobby Knuckles dealing with a lot of injuries, a lot of shit happens. What that fight consists of is him being extremely athletic, very explosive, and closing the distance on Adesanya so quickly that, like, Adesanya didn't really even get to get his feints and stuff out. He was just leaning out of the way the whole time. Whittaker was headhunting, which was not really smart, and Adesanya, just like circling, getting his timing. Eventually, he counterpunches Whittaker and knocks him out. Whittaker comes back, and honestly, he looks so much more measured and progressively more measured in his next three fights. But more than just that, this is one thing that I'm very excited about because he's so talented at this. He's begun to incorporate more offensive wrestling. I think he shot for several takedowns against Darren Till. They didn't. I think maybe one was briefly successful, but none of them actually like resulted in anything. Pretty much all of them got stuffed. But what they did was they facilitated these like dirtier clinch exchanges from which he would get up and throw body shots or an uppercut or get stuff off. It's been a while since I've watched that fight, but he used them to create opportunities for his striking against Cannonier. You could see it as a more mature thing of his because now it's more mature in him now. He uses it when he gets hurt. It's something he can go to buy himself time, to recover. It's what a lot of analysts, or not analysts, like color commentators will say, oh, that's the veteran move. You can see the experienced guy. When he gets hurt, he clinches up. And it's true. Now, in this fight, so to begin with, Kelvin Gastelum, I'm a bigger fan of his than Trayvon's is, and I'm a far, far weaker hater of his than Trayvon is. Trayvon, the most overrated fighter in the UFC. Those were his words. But like Trayvon's right. He's pretty much a 3-2, hard overhand, like some scrambly takedown defense, and that's it. Whittaker put him, he just worked him, man. He figured him out. He beat him all 5 rounds. The wrestling was beautiful from Robert. I really liked him getting to the body lock, hitting takedowns off that. The single leg in the last round was just gorgeous. But one thing that was like super cool to watch is like Robert's been way more disciplined recently, right? Like he'll still do those like leaping entries where it's a bit GSP like where he'll shoulder feint, then like lunge in with a jab or a double jab, then throw the 2, and then it's usually 1, 2. I don't know. Would you call a high kick 5? What's the number for a high kick?
I never heard a high kick get called a number. People call it numbers, but I don't have a number for high kick. I'm throw the damn kick.
Okay. Well, Adesanya has called it a high 5 before, so I was gonna whatever the 1-2 high kick. He was catching Gastelum with that all night. What I like to see from him as a result of the layoff he took after the Adesanya loss is what's something that has always been a knock on Whittaker. He had a tendency to get a little wild, especially in like at the end of exchanges, right? Like he would get in with a really nice combination, he'd enter into range, and then he'd be like, I want to kind of throw a random left hook now, and it would get him caught. him extending the combinations like past like the initial entry and then like the first parts of it would get him caught or countered. And I think having been hit by some really devastating counter punches against Romero and then Adesanya has settled him down quite a bit, right? Like he'll still do things, but he's more measured. He'll build into things more. I like him getting just to the meat and potatoes of his combinations, like jab, cross, high kick. Pretty much lots of really good like straight punching. Very, very good jab. His use of the clinch is very good. His takedown, his top control is actually really underrated. I don't think people understand how good of a grappler Robert Whittaker is. Like he does really technical things on the ground, like him like doing for knee cut guards. I'm not guard passes, things like that. Like he's honestly such a talented grappler. Like he took to wrestling very well. He took to Jiu Jitsu very well. And yeah, my basic thoughts on the fight were that was kind of probably what was always going to happen. Kelvin Gastelum's like crowning moment was his fight against Adesanya, and I just don't know what Kelvin Gastelum could have done to win. The only place I was worried about Whittaker getting maybe caught in is at the end of exchanges, right? Like, and that's why I really like his use of the clinch, because now he's a more competent like clinch fighter and takedown artist. So like he might run, like Gastelum. Let's say Gastelum stands his ground at the end of like a Whittaker like blitz, and then like hits him hard with something while his hands are down, because that's something that has happened to Whittaker before. He will kind of put his hands down after a long blitz. But no, that wasn't to my memory. That wasn't a big issue for him here, and he's very competent in the clinch. And I think going into a title fight, a rematch of Adesanya, I still give the edge to Adesanya, but I think a more measured Whittaker can work for one. Okay, so the clinch and having a good wrestling game will absolutely be a part of a factor in that fight, especially if he can readily close the distance on an Adesanya who takes a while to get the read on the counters, right? Because he can like grab him and take him down. I'm not sure you can hold Adesanya down. What I think will matter more is if he, like I've talked about this before, is if he can close really close distance like he did before, but then work the body and work the legs instead of wildly swinging for the head. And I think I have more faith in his ability to do that now. I didn't think it's a better fight for him now than it was before. So those are my thoughts on it. Nothing super insightful. I had someone over who I was talking to about things, so I didn't get to like really, really watch it. But yeah, Trayvon, you're up.
No, like I said, I'm rewatching the fight right now, so it's very helpful for me to like kind of get my thoughts in place. I kind of want to go to the grappling first, because when Armand brought that up, it just stuck in my head about how like good of a grappler Robert Whittaker is. That's underrated. Even on the ground, his top control, his bottom control is really good. His bottom game is pretty solid too. But as a top player, he prioritizes the correct things. Like he was in half guard a lot this fight, and he just stayed chest to chest like crazy heavy. He was fighting things to get Kelvin Gastelum back flat to the mat. I remember in the last round he almost passed him out with a really good control. Was able to almost like hit a knee slice pass like Armand said.
Yeah.
Just good things that Robert Whittaker does on top. As a defensive grappler, borderline impenetrable for the division. Defensive wrestler, he's borderline impenetrable for the division. I'm really glad Kelvin shot at him a few times, because Whittaker just kind of stuffed almost all of them, except for one.
Yeah, I remember that.
Kelvin timed it extraordinarily good, and he had good grips, and he took him down. But Whittaker popped right back up. It really was just borderline. Didn't even matter.
Well, one thing I'm so sorry to interrupt. I just want to make this point very quickly. Gastelum, I think we've failed to acknowledge this before, he actually does time his double legs pretty well. Like that's something he has done well in his career. Like even against Adesanya, he didn't hold him down because that's a different skill set. But he was like, oh, that's a really good takedown entry because Adesanya, you know what I'm saying? He got in under the hips as Adesanya was extending for punches. So yeah, I just wanted to give him credit for that.
No, like I said, yeah, I see him wrestling Whittaker now, like in these exchanges, and Whittaker just immediately fighting grips, circling off, angling off, things like that.
He's very good.
Like it's nice to see, like Whittaker still defending takedowns. I love to see him defending takedowns. Really nice. So like onto the striking, pretty much, it was pretty easy performance for Whittaker in my opinion. He kind of just had to back up and let Kelvin overthrow himself a few times and then just recounter or counter Kelvin's entries, which wasn't too difficult because Kelvin's extraordinarily predictable. So you can kind of just like slide off counter. But one thing that I did know that I really liked overall was again, like Armand said, like Whittaker's kind of like patience in the exchanges, not overthrowing himself, not going too crazy, not breaking his stance too much in exchanges.
He still does.
Like that was the thing that I really enjoyed. Now I will say, Kelvin does make it easy for you to do that. It's not like he's going to necessarily like punish you, like if you're out of position necessarily, like in these exchanges, because he himself can't really keep position the best, especially as he's getting countered. And then Kelvin's cage cutting forward wasn't the best either because he pushed Whittaker back a lot. Whittaker was cool to give ground because kind of had no threat. But if Kelvin had a right hand or a right hook or was going to the body more, I remember like in the 5th round, he threw a body shot. Like Whittaker, like I mean, he reacted to it kind of weirdly. Like he punched over really hard, and I was like, Kelvin should just been doing this from the beginning. Like, dude, you're short, Kelvin. Go to everybody's body, and you hit hard. Go to everybody's body. You know what I mean? And you have a great chin. Like, go to everybody's body. Like the one time he did it against Israel, it made his life so much easier.
Yeah.
But like again, I really like what I saw from Whittaker. I really like I just can't stress how like good of a fighter he is. He just very easy counters on entries, steps off to the side, probably either recounters or exit out, and it just made Kelvin just like miss a lot, a whole lot. Now like when it comes to like I guess because I didn't get to say my prediction, I was assuming Whittaker was gonna win this fight. But when it comes to like my my assumptions of like how Israel and Whittaker fight is going to come, unfortunately, I don't think this Kelvin fight really tells us too much about that. Like Kelvin and Israel do a whole lot different things at range. They navigate their spaces different. Just a lot like there's not much interchangeability between the two. And again, like Armand says, I think Whittaker can do a whole lot more in the rematch to make his life easier and potentially win it. But I kind of can't still pick him against Izzy.
Same.
Just because I don't have the information. Maybe if he could lynch his takedowns a little bit more cleaner. Maybe if he was a more consistent clinch guy in deep exchanges where he can just like kind of just sit into the clinch and not exchange as much. Maybe if his back foot defensive footwork wasn't as a little bit too kind of shaky, he'll cross his feet, sometimes run a little bit out the way.
Yeah.
I might feel a little more comfortable. Maybe if he attacked the body more himself. But no, just seeing the takedown, like Kelvin landed a really nice one, but Whittaker immediately got back up. It was really nice. But no, yes, like if Whittaker could just do a lot of little things better, he has a shot to win. But that's hard to do. Like very, very difficult to do a lot of little things better. So I'll still have to pick Izzy. I think Whittaker can make it a competitive decision. Unfortunately, I think this is going to be a brutal fight, kind of no matter how you slice it. If they both were fighting consistently, because both are going to put shots on each other, both are going to like do big damage. But man, I love Bobby Knuckles. I want him to win that damn fight. I'm like, I want him to be Izzy.
Well, okay, so the path to victory for him is probably definitely summed up by exactly what you said. A lot of little things better. For one, I don't think he like everything he did was like he just sprinted into range and headhunted. You can still sprint into range because Izzy's like not the best counterpuncher off the rip, but you have to kick the legs, you have to kick the body. Like we talked about this in the last episode.
Yes. I've been saying this to people around me all the time. Israel's not a counter striker, man. I don't like the narrative that he's a counter striker. I'm sorry. He's elite. He can counter strike. Like, duh. I've said this before. But yes, like Whittaker's best work was on his entries. He jabbed him up. Not say jabbed him up, but he got his jab off on Israel consistent amount. You know what I mean? Enough to like close the gap. And I always joke like in the last exchange, he landed his jab first and then got smoked deeper in the exchange.
Because he carried through with the combination. Like he kept trying to.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Yes. So like, if Whittaker can stay a little bit more cleaner in the exchanges, he'll do a lot better. I mean, obviously, duh. But if he keeps his stance and doesn't keep on overthrowing and reaching for Izzy's head, like life and death, he'll do a lot better. If he doesn't work the body, if he works the body, that'd be great. If he works the legs, that'd be great. If he enters some takedown entries, that'd be great. If he does some clinch work, that'd be great. Obviously, it's a lot of little things that you have to play together, and it's difficult, obviously. But he'll make his life a whole lot easier if he does those things.
I agree.
But like I said, I like to see him. I like to see him looking good in this fight. He looked like a great fighter yesterday for us. I don't think the Kelvin matchup has much to say, but I saw one of the better, if not the best, for sure not Kelvin. One of the best Whittaker performances. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I agree with you.
So if you have something to say, you can. If not, I'll talk about Kelvin for a little bit.
Just the only thing left to say is, Whittaker, yes, had his way. Like you're right with counters, but also like he kind of just entered with one jab and then one right straight at will, and Kelvin's like kind of just there. You know what I'm saying? Like kind of just eating everything. Yeah, so like you said, not a very good. Like they're so different. Like Izzy, like whenever Whittaker threw the 1-2 high kick, Kelvin's inclination was like to stand still and like try to block it, even though he often failed. Whereas like Adesanya's like, yeah, I'm gonna move and circle out of the way, and you're not gonna.
Or a counter kick too, which.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
things like that.
Whereas he's not a stationary target. Like Kelvin's kind of just like, kind of knows he has a good chin and just doesn't do anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. So now you can go on.
No, yeah. So I'll spend this next little bit talking about Kelvin because I never want to see anybody not succeed. I honestly don't. You know what I mean? I want to see everybody do good. Obviously, there has to be winner or loser. There always has to be like people who are better than others and whatnot. But like I don't want to see people not succeed. But I could see a disgustingly elite fighter out of somebody like Kelvin Gastelum, like borderline like at the surface, man. But he just hasn't gotten any better over the years. He's the same guy over the years. He's been extremely like repetitive and predictable over the years. Flaws still there. Now, again, I'll say this: most fighters they carry their flaws with them from the first fight to the last fight, which is okay. It's hard to kind of like you're kind of who you are, and your natural game is how your natural game is, and there's always counters to everything. Mm-hmm. So like if you're a rangy guy, you might have to be stuck at leg kicks. I don't know. And if you're a pocket box, you might suck with freaking I don't know clinch guys. Whatever. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You're always gonna kind of have always gonna have something that you're weaker at, but like. I'm not sure Kelvin has gotten better at the things he's best at or even addressed his weaknesses. You know what I mean? Like, Kelvin is a guy, man, who I could see so much, like, potential out of, man. Like, I could see just a very good, like, the Kane comparisons, but better. You know what I mean? Like, better.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't, like, to me, his fights are just really, like, man. Like, he'll sit at range, get smacked up. If it's an older guy, he'll knock him out in that exchange.
Yeah.
If it's a younger guy, he'll just kind of sit at range and get pieced up. And then his grappling flaws, his pace flaws, his discipline flaws, from what I hear, his everything about that, man, it just makes it annoying, man. Like to me, he's like a guy that like coasts on his attributes and toughness and chin, and I don't like to see that, man. It just really irritates me, man. Like. Honestly does. Whittaker with a great single leg right there I just seen. But that just irritates me. Like,
well, I mean,
somebody like Whittaker who has gotten better because Whittaker he used to be bad, you guys. Whittaker used to not be good. Like everybody used to not be good, obviously, but like he was like a fighter in the UFC getting dropped by Court McGee and Colton Smith. He got dropped by those guys. You know what I mean? That's saying a bit about his chin, which isn't ideal. But also, like he was getting touched by those guys hard enough to fall. Like.
Not just. I mean, he used to just kind of run in as hard as he could and swing hard. He wasn't crafty at all.
Yes, like Whittaker used to not be that, not to be that good. So Whittaker has gotten so much better over the years. Has improved so much. His wrestling has improved so much. His grappling has improved so much. His striking, very clearly, has improved so much. Like to the point where he overtrained, which is. Ironic, but it's a lot harder to overtrain than undertrain. And again, like watching Kelvin Gastelum, man, is just. It's just irritating to me, man, because I could see a great fighter just kind of chilling, if I had to use the word. You know what I mean? Just kind of chilling.
Well, it's like
I'm like, man, that's annoying.
Yeah,
and Kelvin's chin is not going to get any better. Kelvin's, like the matchups and all that stuff is not going to get any better from over time. He's only going to get older. He's still really young too, which is crazy. But he's been in so many fights, so many hard fights now, taking so much damage now. Like he could have legitimately been a champion. Also at 170, which is where he shouldn't be. You know what I mean? Which is another hilarious thing.
Yeah, I mean the thing is, he's a good. He's a good wrestler. Like
yes.
A very good Gastelum versus Usman is like an interesting fight.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yes, like a very good Gastelum versus Usman. If Gastelum is doing the smart thing, like touching the body, jabbing at him, wrestling with him, because Gastelum also is a good grappler in terms of like I mean, he's a black belt, but we'll talk about the black belt later. But like, you can see he has like a really good natural aptitude for grappling. You know what I mean? Do I think he spends much time on it much anymore? I don't know. Maybe so. But like, I don't know. He just seems really undisciplined and just not putting in like. He just hasn't grown much, man. I don't know. Like, again, I'm not in his camp. It's hard to say these things because you're not in people's camps. You're not with them every day. But like, just all the little stories you hear or from what you see, you're like, man, what are you doing with your time?
Well, that if you don't mind, can we segue then into a point I wanted to make? So we're skipping the Arlovsky fight because, like, actually, so I this isn't my joke. I heard it on a different podcast, but this is that fight was the contest to see who would get cut from the UFC twice. But because I think both Sherman and Arlovsky have been cut before.
Yeah.
But okay, so then the next fight on the card of significance so Abdul Razak Al Hassan versus Jacob Malkoun. I think Malkoun is one of Robert Whittaker's friends. I think they train together.
Yeah, they train together. Yes.
He got smoked by some other guy in like the first 20 seconds.
But Phil Halls.
Yeah, like he kind of just got fucking destroyed. Backed himself onto the fence, didn't know what he was doing. Got it knocked out. I didn't expect anything different from him at this point. It looked like this guy. Let's look at so on to the point. Trayvon asked, "What are you doing with your time?" When you look at a fighter and you see that they've not, it's not that they haven't. It's not only that they haven't improved. Like it's that even if they're losing the same way, you don't see them trying things that would work if they were better at them. Like you don't see them trying things that you can tell maybe I worked on this in the gym.
Easy example. I'm sorry, not to cut you off, Armand. Easy
ahead.
examples like RDA. Like we don't know RDA's weak, and this is big, powerful, strong grapple wrestlers. He sucks against those guys, but he always gives them a hard fight. Even if he gets his ass whipped in the end or something like that, he gives him a hard fight. Like he's gotten better with that through time. You know what I mean? Like except for the Kiesa fight, that was terrible. But other than that fight, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he's gotten better. Or like, dang, I can't remember one off my head. But like RDA is a good example of that. Continue on though.
Well, okay, so now I'm looking at this guy. We're just gonna call him Al Hassan. I gotta tell you, his name is Judo Thunder. I guess that means he's judoka. That's not anything you would even come close to.
He's a black belt in judo, yes.
Yeah, under who? I want to know if that I don't believe that. Here's my point. He's a black belt in judo, but all of his wins and the past, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All of his wins are by KO or TKO. And when you watch him fight, he's a very strong, explosive guy who hits pretty hard. He's not even that technically sound. Like his mechanics are not good. And he hits hard, swings wildly, and he knocks people out. Like that's fine. That's fine. But like that's only going to get you so far. You know what I'm saying? Like he met someone who's physically outmatched by him and also experientially inferior to him, but who could wrestle. Right? And he had no answer for it. Al Hassan had no answer. I didn't see him stuffing the head, or he would try one defensive maneuver, dig an underhook and pull up, and then when it wouldn't work, he would just be like, "I am going to get taken down now," and then go on his back, and off his back, he didn't try. He didn't like it. He just kind of laid there and looked for maybe there's a Derek Lewis to get up. You know what I'm saying? Like he didn't have any systematic answer to this problem that is wrestling and MMA, grappling and MMA. And so my question is when you spend however long in the UFC, he has 6 fights in the UFC. Do you not think at some point people are going to be like, this guy's a heavy knockout artist? I'm going to grab his hips. No, I want to know. I'm serious. It's so frustrating as a fan to watch. It's like, I want to get in your gym and watch what goes on. Do people not shoot on you? Is there not a really grindy grappler in your gym who cross faces the fuck out of you when you get taken down? Does it not bother you that person does that to you? Are you the best guy in your gym? You know what I'm saying? What's going on here? So this is 2 points. One, you can't coast on your natural abilities forever. At heavyweight, you can get away with it, but even Ngannou hit a roadblock. And Stipe Miocic, and then he overcame that roadblock, the same roadblock, Stipe Miocic, by becoming technical. By addressing the problems that plagued him in their first fight, that kind of embarrassed him in their first fight. Okay, you can't coast on those things forever. And 2, you have to develop and get better. You have to work on things you're not good at. You should, and that doesn't mean you try and turn your weaknesses into your primary strengths, right? But you try to prevent them from being career-long hindrances. I always say, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, make stuff harder for the person. You know what I mean? Yeah, man, freaking Poirier might be a little too overextended still sometimes, but damn it, he has counters now, which he never had back in the day. You know what I mean? I don't know, freaking Holloway may still be kind of weakish on the back foot, but damn it, man, he has a good jab and good footwork overall to do different things. You know what I mean? Yes, you will always. Everybody has weaknesses. Everybody has things that they're sucking at. Everybody has things that they're not the best at.
No, Khabib was never going to be a great cage cutter. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that's not. But that's not even an example, because when I say work on these things, it doesn't look like he ever worked on it. But my point is he's not Khabib's I'm working on my striking. You're not I'm going to become the next Max Holloway of the UFC, or the next Conor McGregor as a counterpuncher. It's no, I always use him as an example because he's so well known and so dominant in one area of the sport. You don't want to be Ben Askren. You want to be Khabib Nurmagomedov. And that's so funny because he just got knocked out by a YouTuber.
No, I'm sorry. I think it's actually very important to talk about Ben Askren, not the fact that he got knocked out, because who cares, but about his mindset to fighting, which to me is horrific, utterly unacceptable. No reason, no way he ever was elite to me. I've always been a Ben Askren is not elite.
Yeah.
Forever.
Yeah.
On the side, I want to talk about that again, not because he got knocked out, because but because Ben Askren always had the mindset of, I don't give a damn about striking. I don't care about even trying to get better at it, even in the mind. I don't. It just is a waste of my time. And not even like, okay, well, that's a bad way. But he doesn't have it like in the Khabib way of like, I need to get better at striking, learn my basic tools so I can freaking wrestle. So I can wrestle. So I can do the thing I want to do. But Askren just like, I don't. It just is not a thing.
Yeah, and you
It's
can
not a
see
thing
it
that I have to
echoed in his
respect.
fighting style. He just chases after people. Like, I'm going to ignore
Yes,
the fact that
and like
yeah.
that horrific mindset stunts your growth, not even in the worst areas, but in your areas that you're good at. Because also, like, he like obviously he's a really good wrestler, obviously, but like it doesn't allow him to fight his game as easy as he wants. Him not focusing so much, like it just makes it just is terrible. Like I just hate it. Like it's just bad.
Well, no,
Like
I don't know that that's exactly. I don't know Al Hassan and all fighters who are like that haven't outright, in an outspoken fashion said, I don't work on these things. But you can see it in his fight. It's like he's hitting the same single leg every single time he gets a hold of you. Why aren't you stuffing the head? Why aren't you even trying to stuff the head? Okay, what have you never ever been taken down with the single leg in camp before? You know what I'm saying? Like some people you can tell they're not good and they've gotten away with it, and then they never get better. And when I watch that, I'm like, just cut him from the UFC. Just cut him right now. Cut him right now. A guy with six professional fights after that fight just ragdolled him. You know what I'm saying? Like, cut him. There's no reason. Like, he doesn't know how to grapple on his back. I don't believe he's a judo black belt. I wonder if he does. That files into my next point. It meant nothing. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, the judo black belt meant nothing. He was a white belt in there. He got taken down repeatedly at will. He got handled on the ground at will. And it's not that getting handled and taken down repeatedly means there's something wrong with you, right? Like good fighters, that happens to them. It just does, because there are better fighters out there. But it's like when you just hand someone an entire area of the fight because you're like, oh well, I can't do it. You know what I'm saying? Or it's very clear that you've never worked on it. You don't belong in the premier organization. And that's how I feel about Al Hassan. Watching that fight was so frustrating. It was so frustrating. Because like if you just learned how to defend takedowns a little bit, right? Just a little bit, and you kept that guy at range, and then you like just sharpen up your striking a little bit, you could have knocked him out. You know what I mean?
like no, I understand. Like again, I think like I say, my read of the fight, I'm not gonna be as harsh to him, Al Hassan, as Arman is, but I will say no. I think he goes into fights thinking that maybe not even thinking, but kind of having to fight like at a disgustingly high intensity in the beginning to get the KO. But like obviously there are ways to like do that smartly, like have bursts so that you can go hard, maybe take a break, go hard, take a break, go hard, take a break. And yes, you absolutely need your ancillary skills to help you out. So like when you're taking your breaks, you just can't be getting out grappled easy or wrestled on easy or whatever easy. Like I myself don't like the way how he fights. Like again, he didn't really look like a competent full-fledged fighter because he was just kind of not doing much. You know what I mean?
He's doing nothing.
And
he threw like a couple body kicks the whole fight.
Yeah, and like again, sometimes it's twofold. Sometimes it's your camp. Sometimes it's you. Sometimes it might be one end or the other. It makes a big difference. But like again, like when you're like, it's so important to kind of know yourself. So like. Either camp has to let you know who you are, or you yourself have to understand. So it's again, it's twofold. But like, say he fights in a way that's like, I'm gonna kill this guy off the rip. Like, no, man, you can't kill everybody off the rip, man. Like, people are good, or people are tough, or either both, or people are whatever. You know what I mean? Like, you have to have things that like make it so that way you can actually get good enough to kill everybody. Like, it takes actual skill to do that. You know what I mean? To where you actually like can stay in the fight long enough to kill everybody, to hang around in the fights or whatever, things like that. Like.
It was on a 3-fight losing
Again, I didn't like the fight
now.
either. I was just watching just on the side. I was like, whatever. But yeah, I wasn't too much of a fan.
It's just, and what you're saying is correct. I'm not even commenting on his overall process. I'm just saying, like, why are you being taken down so easily by someone who's not known? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. It shouldn't be that easy. It's like when the guy with the crazy hair who broke his rib against Kevin Holland, not very good guy, who Charlie Otavera. Sorry. Yeah. Gets like just manhandled by Michael Venom Page in the grappling. Like, how do you let that happen to you? You know what I'm saying? Like, my question is like, my question when I see that is like, I just want to know, like, this is not a rhetorical request. what goes on in your training camp? Why aren't you good at this?
Also, you have to, for those of you who you guys have to know this. Also, you two remind because it's important. Guys don't train everything, and guys don't don't do everything together. I'll even be myself and say sometimes like there's been spots where I kind of like neglect things for like periods of time, and I know it's bad, and I'm not doing that obviously, but like it's so easy to just not get back to it or not even just address it. Like not everybody has like a wrestling coach, and not everybody even goes out their way to wrestle. You know what I mean? Not everybody goes out their way to grapple. Say it again.
Kevin Holland.
Yeah, and like. They just won't. They like, and even if they have the resources, they won't even do it. You know what I mean? Like, hell, Conor McGregor has all the resources in the world, and he just, I mean, I'm not saying like ditches coaches, but Conor like did probably gets if you probably can't maybe do that. I don't know, but just my opinion. I know it's probably nice to you and all that, but I don't know. But like Conor has all the resources in the world, and like he can like bring anybody out. And again, you don't have to freaking bring out Senchai for every freaking fight. You know what I mean? Like that's you don't need to do all that. But you know what I mean? But like
we need to do
he
something
can do other stuff.
if
You know
it's
what I mean?
Working. Yeah.
And like guys have access to certain things, or maybe they don't. That happens sometimes too. But I think Alvarez Hassan has the access to certain things. But yeah, guys just don't train everything. You know what I mean? Maybe their coaches are like they think they're good enough. Maybe they're just mentally not the like.
But you're 35 on a 3-fight losing streak. Something has to give.
I mean, yeah, but like again, sometimes people don't recognize it, which again is to me not good, not acceptable in the big picture.
No, I know that, but
that's the thing too.
Well, that's my question. It's like why, like if you're a professional fighter, like you know, like
yes, I know, I understand it. Again, it's not acceptable. It's not good, but guys don't train everything. You know what I mean? Or they don't address all the problems. They might have guys that never kick at them. They just never kick at them. They might have guys that like never work a good bottom game on them. So they just beat up guys from the top and have weak top games and do bad stuff from top. Things like that, you know what I mean? They never do jiu-jitsu. Yeah, they never do wrestling.
I can understand that when it's like accessibility, like you're in this gym.
No, yeah. When the accessibility is the problem, I can understand. But like these are UFC guys, they have the accessibility. Like I would be shocked if they didn't have that. Like honestly, like even just the name, like hey, I'm a UFC fighter, can I wrestle? Like yes, you can wrestle here. This gym, absolutely. You know what I mean?
They won't charge you. Like if you just walk in, like if you walk into a local gym that has like really good wrestling, and you just drop in maybe once a week. Like, can I come here? They're probably
hell, dude. You can freaking go to your freaking local college, whatever. Well, again, maybe in your freaking area you might not have that, but like,
but there's a way. There's someone somewhere, and by being a UFC fighter, they'll at the very least let you come for a highly discounted price if money's an issue, which it shouldn't be, but in some cases it is because UFC pays their fighters nothing. But you know what I'm saying? Like Trevin Giles and those guys. Once you're a pro, they train for free. They don't train. They don't have to really pay. They have training camps. They have to pay people and whatnot. But like, you know what I'm saying. It's not hard to get a good guy who teach you like repeatedly how to get up against the fence. You know what I'm saying? Your boy did it today. Your boy wall walked today. In Houston, where we're not really known for having like a very hard wrestling culture.
Yeah.
And still, he knows how to do it. Someone taught him in his gym, or he taught himself.
Also, we'll use this as a segue into my boy Cameron because it's very important. Because this is a second pro fight that he had a pro fight last month, so he want to get it back really quickly. Because his first fight was ass. It just was ass. It just was bad. It just wasn't good. He'll tell you, which is great. Mom will tell you. Mom saw it. I'll tell you it was freaking trash. Everybody knows trash. Well, not everybody. A lot of people was complimenting him, but he
still won. But it was
like
man performance.
He knows, and he's been knowing this 4 years. I've told him this. He's told me this. We've been on this 4 years. I'm like, Cameron, you want to strike. You're a good striker. People are going to have to take you down to fight you. And he's told me this too. He's like, guys are going to have to shoot on me to fight me. You know what I mean? Like that's the way how they're going to have to fight me. And he's been working on these little things over time. He's had a few bumps and bruises. You know what I mean? Everybody happens. He's early in his career, yada yada yada. But like, he's a lot more prepared for it, obviously now than he was back in the day because he continuously works on it. Yeah. Is that his area of expertise? No. Is that something he's continuously working on? Yes. Is that something that's going to like overall be a pitfall for him? No. Because he's working on it, you know what I mean? He's working on it. And conversely, I wanted to talk about his opponent, who was a black belt. I'll talk about that, but I want to get to it first, which is pretty funny.
I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Look, I started in jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu's my thing, but I'm fucking so sick and tired of fucking Brazilian jiu-jitsu. People like
jiu-jitsu's my game. I love jiu-jitsu too, man, but
I hate the people most of the time. I'm like, I've got a black belt. Yeah, you've got a black belt. That's cool. You can probably beat on most people who just train jiu-jitsu or just random civilians. What's your boy's belt?
Cameron's? I think he's a blue belt.
Okay. So you have a 22, 23?
23.
23-year-old blue belt beat the shit out of a 32-year-old black belt because that black belt could not wrestle. He could not strike. He had no command of the octagon. He literally, his one thing was...
I think it's a circle. I don't think it's an octagon.
The cage. His one thing, his hope and you know this because he's lost half his fights. His fucking, like, Jesus Christ, please grant me this time. I hope my opponent doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't even have a good single leg. He grabbed it like this. You don't know how you finish single legs. It's like you get your single leg stuffed. You don't know, with the curve like this. We talked
about that. That was pretty bad his camera's defense was not the best, but but that's fine.
But that's neither here nor there. He's 23. And he did good. And he's a very good striker.
Yeah.
Now the thing is, that guy's entire game plan was like, I know I'm good on the ground, so I'm gonna Hail Mary for takedowns, and then when that doesn't work, I'm gonna scurry around the cage, get hit a lot, nod my head as the blood leaks out of my mouth. But it didn't hurt, and then I'm gonna fail a bunch of M&I rolls and look like every single Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt without anything else who's been competing since the 1990s. Every single one, Trayvon. Everyone, from the big stage of Kazushi Sakuraba to any time a wrestler who could not do anything except wrestle and box, no submission, they were just like, I'm not gonna get armbarred. Watch Overeem versus Verdum 2. Every single one of them, man. Everyone. You look like Horace Gracie and they're like, oh, the takedown didn't work. Better lose this fight for an hour and a half. You know what I'm saying? I'm tired of seeing it. I'm tired of it. So when you tell me, well, I've got a black belt in jiu-jitsu, it's like, yeah. I know about 50 amateur fighters who would make you look like a fucking old woman. Like, everybody's got a black belt until they can't get a takedown. They're getting punched in the face. And most jiu-jitsu guys can't wrestle. Most of them suck at wrestling. No, they're bad. Like this is something Khabib Nurmagomedov said on that live stream where he basically just streamed the whole Kevin Holland, Derek Brunson fight.
That's funny as hell. I know, for real.
Dana White didn't say anything. It's like, you know what I'm saying? They don't even give a fuck, I guess. He said, you have to wrestle a couple, if you've never wrestled before in your life, like you don't come from a wrestling background, you have to wrestle a couple hours every day, obviously not every day, like 5, days a week, in order to really understand wrestling. That's so true. I don't know if the number is exact. Those are semantic issues. But
just wrestle.
You have to wrestle a lot. You have to put time in and consistently. Because wrestling, like, it's great if you're Sanchez, but if you get put on your ass, you know what I'm saying? Or if you can't put a guy on his ass. Like, it was so annoying. And, like, the guy... So when I'm tired of hearing, this is how I'm going to conclude this, is I hope I never get my black belt in jiu-jitsu. I want to be a white belt for the rest of my life. That way, whenever I fight pro and I smash a bunch of these fucking Rodolfo Vieira guys who don't know how to fight... Right? But that was the guy who got fucked up by a baby, whatever his name was. Yeah.
It's funny because the other day, I was watching Rodolfo Vieira versus Ben Henderson ADCC. Just for the funsies. And, I was just watching it. And I was like, okay, let's go. Rodolfo Vieira is obviously very good at a grappler.
But it didn't matter. It doesn't matter. If Cameron and your boy were to have a submission-only pro grappling hunters or match or something like that, I put money on the black belt. No offense, because he's a black belt. But does it really matter? The guy's going to butt scoot his little fucking... You know what I'm saying? I hate butt scoot. So I sent the video on Snapchat to some people of mine. I was like, my friend Trayvon's friend Cameron, one of the thing. Is like, this is what happens when a butt scooter tries out MMA. You know what I'm saying? So that's my thing. I have officially sailed away from the BJJ matters that much. It does matter, but like belts and all that shit like that. Like, Petr Yan won most of the grappling exchanges against Aljamain Sterling, right? Rafael dos Anjos, Dustin Poirier, both black belts, ragdolled by Khabib. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. Like, you just need to be a good combat grappler. Like, that's the thing. Like, I don't ever want anything more than a white belt. So that way when I beat black belts, I can be like, take the L. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. So I'm just and I have a personal story I'm not going to tell. Trayvon already knows it about, he's a brown belt. I'm like, oh, fuck you, stupid brown belt. What are you going to pull my sleeves? Oh, grip fighting and all that shit. Get the fuck away from me. So I'm so tired of hearing, and this is another thing that gets on my nerves too. I'm sorry, I'm rambling. Whenever I see this is the posture of so many like fucking like they, and I get it because it's an accomplishment and you should be proud. And BJJ is a contact sport and it can be grueling to prepare for and the matches are hard. But when I've got a fight coming up. Me and this guy are fighting soon. If you want to come to my fight, buy my tickets. And here's my CBD sponsorship. And you pull up in that thing with your gi and you're going to pull on the sleeves and the collar and you hit your little fang and you won by an advantage. You did not fight anyone. That's not a fight. There's no version of grappling that's a fight. That's not a fight. You have to hit each other. You're trying to hurt each other? No? I like when Andre Galvao was like, I like to fight wrestlers in jiu-jitsu. Stop saying fight. It's not a fight. You disrespect fighters when you call it a fight, right? That pisses me off. It pisses me off so much. and they act like they're fighters, right? They're like, nah, I'm gonna fuck anybody up. It's like, yes, if somebody didn't know how to sprawl and stuff your takedowns, which is most regular people, you would beat them up. If you just have a blue belt who only trains jiu-jitsu, you would beat them up. But like, if they're an amateur MMA fighter who's good and you can't take them down, you better pack a lunch or bring a gun, because it's it. It's over for you. You know what I mean? So that's my thing. Jiu-jitsu is like,
No, yeah, man. Like
such a
again,
fucking
like
scam.
I know Ramon does, but especially I, man. I love me jiu-jitsu, man. Like jiu-jitsu is awesome. Like it's mandatory. You have to be like competent at it to be able to like survive.
One more comment, really. I love jiu-jitsu. I'm not complaining about jiu-jitsu, the art. I'm talking about the culture and the
No,
people.
yes, exactly, yes. The culture, yes. That's what I wanted to emphasize. The culture, the thing. Like again, we talked about this a lot with Rodolfo Vieira the last time. But like, you have to like. Being like jiu-jitsu is kind of like in itself is so devoid. Sport jiu-jitsu is so devoid from like a real fight, and the tactics and all that are so devoid from a real fight. You have to be able to implement those things in a different way in MMA. Like certain things are like jiu-jitsu is magic. The art is like the art is magic. It feels magical sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the culture and all that is really devoid from a real fight, and the way how things are structured is really devoid from a real fight. So, like, I really think it's a crime, damn near, man, that jiu-jitsu doesn't have as much emphasis on wrestling and takedowns and things like that, because like I mean obviously jiu-jitsu itself is not emphasized that, but like man, it's just so helpful. Like I can't express it, you know what I mean?
Well, it's also
and wrestling that has grown over time.
Well, and from a combative perspective, it like the fact that those things aren't allows people who are not going to win a fight to get really good at jiu-jitsu. Like wrestlers are so tough. You know what I'm saying? Like in a fight, like they're so much more fearless. Like they just duck their head and take you down. Like how many and it's not a knock on them, like 50-year-old guys in the gi. Like if you don't wrestle, I feel like you're losing so much grit and toughness and athleticism. You know what I'm saying? Because you really start the thing on your knees. Like nothing starts on the knees. Where are you where you start on the knees? Anyway, I'm sorry. Continue.
No, and I would just say, man, like some of the hardest practice I've ever had at wrestling practices, not even in the sense of like, well, okay, the push, yes, but like just trying to move people, human beings, like that off their feet. Oh God, that's rough as hell. You know what I mean? Like that's not easy. You know what I mean?
It's exhausting.
Things like that. But yes, man. I again, the structure of jiu-jitsu, I'm just not a fan of it. Like jiu-jitsu as a whole, like the moves, the techniques, the philosophy when it comes to the arts, all that stuff, the theory is great. It's obscene. Like it is. And in terms of like one-on-one against everybody, jiu-jitsu is the best for a reason. But one-on-one versus everybody isn't real life. You know what I mean? Like, what art is the specific best? That's a really vague and weird question and doesn't answer much. But yes, jiu-jitsu probably would be every other art. One-on-one, no other thing else, obviously. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But that doesn't actually mean anything, and it doesn't actually equate to anything when you just think of the big picture. You know what I mean? And then because when you add everything together, jiu-jitsu becomes one of the less applicable and one of the less like translatable arts, which is ironic. You know what I mean? But once you translate it, when you're able to translate it and like combine it with, again, when you think of things as like submission wrestling, things become a whole lot more disgustingly dangerous for your opponent. You know what I mean? Then you become a monster. Like all the best top game guys, mostly all the best like guys are on top, can blend wrestling concepts with their jiu-jitsu concepts, keep people down, bring them back down, things like that. You know what I mean? Like it's just vital. You know what I mean? It's just vital.
I agree. And like the guy that Cameron Smotherman beat the shit out of, like he was a black belt, and that was it. Like he was clueless in there as a fighter. You know, Cameron's very good. You know, being 1-0 doesn't, and like he's gonna. It's not
exactly, and they were talking about how like it was a big experience mismatch as well, and he was talking about it too as well before the fight. He was like, "I know the guy has a lot of fights, but I think I can beat him up, so I don't care." You know, because normally you try to keep fights, around the same amount level. Because like even Cameron was like, "Yeah, the guy has like 9 fights, 10 fights now, but 9 fights, that's a lot of fights compared to my 1." You know what I mean? But like,
but he just wasn't as good. He just wasn't good enough.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. Yeah. Like he wasn't good enough, and like if that guy was more defensively responsible, could throw like a combination that was useful, and knew how to wrestle a little better, it would have been a more interesting fight. I'm not picking against your boy or anything, but a more interesting fight. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But those are the types of people that just need to stop fighting, because you're 30 whatever and you already have 5-5 and you're not going to get better. You're just taking brain damage. You know what I mean? You need to find a real job.
Yeah, pretty much.
But anyway, so that's my rant on that. It ties into everything, right? Like what are you doing in training? You're obviously not getting better at striking. Maybe you're just incapable of getting better at it. But I don't know if that's the case or not. But then you have like Al Hassan, who's the judo black belt. I was shocked to hear that. To be honest with you, I was like, wow, a judo black belt. Like, are we talking about the same thing? And it's just one of those weird like fucking Hapkido black belts. So anyway, but that's that, man. I mean, it's easy for me as someone who hasn't had a professional fight to be like, oh, this is this and this is that. And obviously all these people would fuck me up, but that's just how I see it. You know, that's just how I see it. So, telling you guys the truth. Anyhow, I think that kind of does it for fights on this card. If there's anything we're missing, I can't remember it, and I don't think that probably means it's just like not worth. Let's look. We have still nothing to talk about. Tracy Cortez, she won. Luis Pena, who's overrated. Oh, Juan Espino versus Alexander Romanov. This is the last thing I want to comment on. I want to keep it quick, like really.
Keep this a little bit brief for me, Armand. But
I like them both. I'm a huge Espino fan. I thought it was 1-1 going into the third. Alexander Romanov got kneed in the balls. I used to always give fighters like way too much benefit of doubt, I think. Like maybe DC poked Stipe in the eye on accident. But now I don't believe anything. And Aljamain Sterling ruined that for me because he's made the most excuses I've heard anyone make in my life. I've watched court cases where the killer pled not guilty to cold-blooded murder and they made less excuses than Aljamain Sterling fucking made for his obvious loss to Petr Yan. Anyhow, so Romanov holds on to his, I can't move my leg because I got kneed in the balls. I've never seen that before. Maybe it's true. I'm not a doctor. I haven't looked at what the medical results were after this, but I thought Juan Espino was going to win the third, win the first, win the fight. Romanov, you did a damn good thing. You saved your O. You stooped. Okay, let's just move on. The mood isn't super great this morning or this evening, so I'm kind of being disrespectful.
I don't think Romanov faked it too much. Armand's really jaded right now. He's really mad, emotional because of everything situation going on. But also Espino's his boy. But I mean, it was a heavyweight fight. Who cares?
My leg, I got kneed in the balls, and my leg hurts now. Ooh.
But yeah, I think that's about that for the weekend.
Anyway,
nothing else really happened.
Nothing else really happened, no.
Yeah, nothing else really happened.
And then Jeremy Stevens ruined the only other noteworthy.
Oh yeah, that too. Yeah, that happened. I forgot about that. That was pretty funny.
By like not being able to control himself for one more day.
Well, not funny because he freaking actually hurt freaking
close.
Yeah, which is freaking stupid and sucks for Jakar, but like yeah, Jeremy Stevens being dumb. I don't know.
Yeah, you were gonna fight him, like actually fight him legally in a day. Like you couldn't control yourself for another 24 hours.
I know, man. Goodness gracious, dude. What? Yeah, I don't know, man. Jeremy Stevens.
So that's that. So thank you guys for watching. Sorry today our content was for me a little more inflammatory. Had some things to say. But we'll talk to you next time. And congrats again, Cameron Smotherman. Have a good evening.
Real deal.